The woman walked into the dining room and was surprised to see Amina there. "What is your office cleaner doing here?" she asked Adebayo. "Are you cheating on me with her?" Everyone at the table was shocked. "Is she the reason you have not been picking my calls?" she snorted. They looked back and forth between Adebayo, Amina, and the new woman, trying to understand what was happening. In the bustling city of Lagos, Nigeria, there lived a man named Adebayo. A 35-year-old, he was at the peak of his career and very wealthy. Adebayo owned a prestigious law firm where he worked as a corporate lawyer. His sharp mind and business acumen had made him one of the most sought-after lawyers in the city. Every day, he would drive his expensive car to his office in a tall building in the heart of Lagos, where he would spend hours working on important cases for big companies. Adebayo's father, Mr. Oluwaseyi, lived in their hometown Ibadan, about 130 kilometers from Lagos. Mr. Oluwaseyi was the owner of a large family business that had been passed down through generations. It was a company that made and sold traditional Nigerian textiles, and it was well known throughout the country. But now, Mr. Oluwaseyi was getting old. His hands weren't as steady as they used to be, and he often felt tired. He knew it was time to find someone to take over the business. You might think Adebayo would be the perfect choice to run the family business. After all, he was smart, good with money, and understood how businesses worked. But there was a big problem. Adebayo had a reputation in Lagos as a playboy. This means he dated many women but never stayed with one for long. He would take them to fancy restaurants, buy them expensive gifts, and then move on to the next woman. His father thought he showed that Adebayo couldn't be trusted to run the family business. Mr. Oluwaseyi believed that a person who couldn't commit to a relationship wouldn't be able to commit to running a big company. Adebayo's mother, Mrs. Oluwaseyi, was very worried about this situation. She loved her son and knew he was capable of great things. One day, when Adebayo came to visit, she sat him down for a serious talk. "My son," she said, "you are smart and successful, but your father is worried. He thinks you are not ready to take over the family business because you are never settled down with one woman. Maybe it's time for you to find a nice girlfriend and show your father that you can be responsible." Adebayo listened to his mother, but he didn't say much. He had never thought his personal life would affect his chances of running the family business. He left his parents' house that day with a lot on his mind. While all this was happening, there was another person who had his eyes on the top job at the family company. This was Chidi, Adebayo's brother-in-law. Chidi was married to Adebayo's sister Amaka and had been working at the family business for several years. Chidi was ambitious and wanted to become the new boss of the company. He thought that since he had been working there for so long, he deserved to be in charge. But Chidi had a big dark secret. For the past 2 years, he had been stealing money from the company. He would change the numbers in the company's books to hide the fact that he was taking money for himself. Chidi used this stolen money to buy a new car, expensive clothes, and even a big house. He thought no one would ever find out. Back in Lagos, Adebayo was thinking hard about what his mother had said. He knew he needed to do something to show his father that he could be responsible. But he didn't want to change his lifestyle. He enjoyed being single and dating different women. Then an idea came to him. What if he could find someone to pretend to be his girlfriend? This was his family would think he was settling down, but he wouldn't have to actually change. Adebayo thought about who he could ask to be his pretend girlfriend. He couldn't ask any of the women he usually dated because his family might not approve of them. He needed someone his family would like, someone who seemed different from his usual girlfriends. One day, as Adebayo was sitting in his office thinking about his plan, he saw a young woman cleaning his office. Her name was Amina. She was pretty, with kind eyes, with a gentle smile. Adebayo had seen her around the office before but had never really paid attention to her. Now, as he watched her quietly doing her job, he thought she would be perfect to pretend to be his girlfriend. Adebayo called Amina into his office and explained his plan. He offered to pay her a lot of money if she would pretend to be his girlfriend for a while. At first, Amina wasn't sure what to think. She knew about Adebayo's reputation with women. She had seen many beautiful, well-dressed women come and go from his office. She was afraid he might just use her and then leave her like he did with other women. But Amina had problems of her own that made her consider Adebayo's offer. Her mother was very sick and needed expensive medicine. Amina also had to take care of her younger brothers and sisters. She worked hard as a cleaner, but the money wasn't enough to pay for everything. After thinking about it for a day, Amina agreed to Adebayo's plan. She hoped the money would help her take care of her family. A few days later, Adebayo and Amina traveled to Ibadan to visit Adebayo's family. When they arrived, Amina was shocked. She knew Adebayo was rich, but she had no idea just how wealthy his family was. Their house was huge, more like a palace than a home. It had big gates, a long driveway, and gardens full of beautiful flowers. Amina felt very small and out of place as she walked into the grand house. Amina now understood why Adebayo hadn't chosen one of his real girlfriends for his plan. The women she had seen him with in Lagos were glamorous and loud. They wore lots of jewelry and expensive clothes. But Adebayo's family seemed traditional and respectable. They probably wouldn't have liked those flashy city women. To Amina's surprise, Adebayo's family liked her right away. Amina was naturally polite and respectful, which made a good impression on Adebayo's parents. When Mrs. Oluwase asked if Amina could help in the kitchen, Amina agreed happily. She was a great cook and soon won Mrs. Oluwase's approval with her delicious jollof rice and pounded yam. Mr. Oluwase was impressed by Amina's quiet confidence and good manners. He liked the way she listened carefully when people spoke and always said please and thank you. By the end of the first day, the whole family thought Amina was perfect for Adebayo. When it was time for bed, Adebayo and Amina had to share a room to keep up their act, but they didn't sleep in the same bed. Amina made a bed for herself on the floor with extra blankets. When they were alone in the room, Adebayo went back to his usual self. He spent time on his phone talking and messaging other girls right in front of Amina. Amina felt uncomfortable, but she reminded herself that this was just a job. She wasn't really Adebayo's girlfriend. But when Adebayo's family was around, he acted completely different. He was kind and gentle with Amina. He held her hand, pulled out her chairs for her, and always made sure she was comfortable. He treated her like a princess. Amina had never seen this side of Adebayo before. She started to wonder if this was the real Adebayo hidden beneath his playboy image. Despite herself, she started to like this version of him. One morning, something unexpected happened. Adebayo's younger sister, Yewande, came into the room without knocking. She found Amina sleeping on the floor and was very surprised. "Why are you on the floor?" Yewande asked. "Isn't the bed big enough for both of you?" Thinking quickly, Adebayo and Amina came up with a lie. They said Amina had a sore back and needed to sleep on the hard floor to make it feel better. Adebayo then asked Amina to join him in the bed, saying her back must be better now. Amina, playing alone, got into the bed. Yawande seemed satisfied with his explanation and left the room. Adebayo and Amina breathed a sigh of relief, glad their secret was still safe. A few days later, Amina went with Adebayo to the family company. The company's main office was in a big building in the center of Ibadan. Amina was amazed at how large and busy it was. There were many people working at computers, talking on phones, and rushing around with papers. She had never seen anything like it before. While Adebayo was in the meeting with his father, Amina decided to walk around the office. As she was looking around, she overheard something that made her stop and listen. Chidi, Adebayo's brother-in-law, was talking to the company's accountant in a quiet corner. Chidi was telling the accountant to change some numbers in the company's financial records. He wanted the accountant to hide some money that was missing. Amina realized with shock that Chidi was stealing from the company. When Adebayo came out of his meeting, Amina didn't know what to do. Should she tell him what she had heard? Would he believe her? After all, she was just pretending to be his girlfriend. He didn't really know her or trust her. But Amina knew she had to do something. It wasn't right for Chidi to steal from the family business. Amina asked Adebayo if she could look at some of the company's financial papers. Adebayo was confused by this request. "Why do you want to see those?" he asked Amina, thinking quickly. Said she was bored and wanted something to do. She said looking at numbers might be interesting. Adebayo shrugged and agreed, not thinking much of it. He thought Amina wouldn't understand the complicated financial documents anyway. But Amina had a secret of her own. Before she had to take up the cleaning job, she had studied accounting in school. As she looked through the papers, she quickly spotted some strange things. There were large amounts of money that hadn't been properly recorded. Some numbers didn't add up correctly. Amina could see clearly how money was being stolen from the company. Amina told Adebayo what she had found, but at first he didn't want to listen. He only knew her as a cleaner and couldn't believe she would understand such complicated financial matters. But Amina insisted, explaining what she had seen in a way that Adebayo could understand. Finally, Adebayo agreed to look at what Amina had found. As he read through the documents and listened to Amina's explanations, his eyes grew wide. He was shocked to see that she was right. There was definitely something wrong with the company's finances. Adebayo quickly told his father about what Amina had discovered. Mr. Oluwase was very concerned. He said he had suspected something might be wrong because Chidi had been spending a lot of money lately. He had a new car and was always wearing expensive clothes. But Mr. Oluwase hadn't wanted to believe that his son-in-law would steal from the family business. He got auditors to look into the company's finances. These auditors spent several days going through all the company's records. They found even more problems than Amina had seen. It turned out that Chidi had been stealing money for over 2 years. Everyone was impressed with Amina. They asked her how she knew to look for these problems in the financial records. Amina then revealed her secret. She was actually a trained accountant, but because jobs were hard to come by, she was there to find a befitting role equal to her qualifications. They now understood how she managed to discover the frauds that were going on in the company. Adebayo and his family were very surprised by this news. Adebayo felt a little embarrassed that he hadn't believed Amina at first. To cover up his mistake, he pretended that he had known all along about Amina's accounting skills. He said he was very proud of her for helping her out to uncover the theft. This made his family like Amina even more. They thought she was not only kind and well-mannered, but also very smart. That night, as Amina was getting ready for bed, she received a message on her phone. It was bad news. Her mother had gotten very sick and was in the hospital. Amina knew she had to go back to Lagos right away. She told Adebayo that she had to leave, but he said no. He reminded her that she had promised to pretend to be his girlfriend for a certain amount of time, and that time wasn't up yet. Amina was torn between her duty to her family and her promise to Adebayo. The next morning, as everyone was eating breakfast, they heard a knock at the door. When Mr. Oluwase opened it, there was a young woman dressed in fancy clothes and wearing a lot of jewelry. It was one of Adebayo's real girlfriends from Lagos. She had come to surprise him. The woman walked into the dining room and was surprised to see Amina there. "What is your office cleaner doing here?" she asked Adebayo. "Are you cheating on me with her?" Everyone at the table was shocked. "Is she the reason you have not been picking my calls?" She snorted. They looked back and forth between Adebayo and Amina and the new woman, trying to understand what was happening. Adebayo tried to defend Amina, saying she wasn't just a cleaner, but the damage was done. His family now knew that Amina wasn't really his girlfriend. They realized that Adebayo had been lying to them all along. Amina felt terrible. She stood up and apologized to everyone for her part in the lie. She explained that she only agreed to pretend to be Adebayo's girlfriend because she needed money to help her sick mother. She said she would leave right away and was very sorry for deceiving them. Amina was so upset that she didn't even take the fancy clothes Adebayo had bought for her to wear during their visit. She only went with what she was wearing. Amina went straight from Ibadan to the hospital in Lagos where her mother was. She felt sad and ashamed about what had happened, but she didn't tell her mother. She didn't want to upset her mother while she was sick. Instead, Amina focused on taking care of her mother and helping her get better. Back at the Oluwase house, things were very different after Amina left. Adebayo's parents were disappointed with him for lying. They sent his Lagos girlfriend away and told Adebayo he needed to think hard about the kind of person he wanted to be. Adebayo felt bad about how things had turned out. He realized that he had hurt Amina's feelings and disappointed his family. As days passed, Adebayo found himself thinking more and more about Amina. He missed her gentle smile and her kind words. He remembered how she had helped uncover Chidi's theft. Adebayo realized that he had never met anyone quite like her. Adebayo's family noticed the change in him. They saw that he was quieter than usual and often seemed lost in thought. One evening, Mrs. Oluwase sat down with her son. "Adebayo," she said, "I know we are upset about your lie, but we could all see that when you were with Amina, you were a better person. You were kinder and more thoughtful than we've ever seen you. Maybe you should go find her and apologize. A girl like that doesn't come along every day." Adebayo thought about his mother's words. The next day, he decided to go back to Lagos to look for Amina. He wasn't sure where to find her, so he went to his office building and asked around. Finally, he found Amina's best friend, who also worked as a cleaner. The friend was very surprised to see Adebayo. She had never seen him talk to any of the cleaning staff before. She was even more surprised when she saw the expensive car he was driving. Adebayo asked Amina's friend where he could find Amina. The friend was hesitant to tell him, not wanting to betray Amina's trust. But Adebayo explained that he needed to apologize to Amina and make things right. Finally, the friend agreed to take him to the hospital where Amina was with her mother. When Amina saw Adebayo walk into the hospital room, she was shocked and upset. She thought her friend had betrayed her by bringing Adebayo there. But before she could say anything, Adebayo started to apologize. He said it wasn't Amina's friend's fault, but his. He told Amina that he had been wrong to lie to his family and to ask her to be part of that lie. He said he was sorry for not believing her at first about the company's finances. Most of all, he said he was sorry for not realizing sooner what a wonderful person Amina was. Amina listened to Adebayo's apology, but she wasn't sure if she could believe him about relationships. How do I know you are not just saying what you think I want to hear? Adebayo knew he had to be honest with Amina. He took a deep breath and began to tell her a story from his past that he had never shared with anyone before. When I was younger, Adebayo said, there was a girl in my hometown that I loved very much. We grew up together and I thought we would get married someday. But then, she met a man from America. He promised her a better life and she left me to go with him. After that, I promised myself I would never let a woman break my heart again. That's why I became a playboy. I thought if I never got too close to anyone, I wouldn't get hurt. Amina listened quietly as Adebayo spoke. She could see the pain in his eyes as he talked about his past. Adebayo continued, but then I met you, Amina. During the time we spent pretending to be a couple, you made me feel something I hadn't felt in a long time. I realized I was falling in love with you for real. You are different from any other woman I've known. You are kind, smart, and you care about others more than yourself. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I hope you give me a chance to show you the real me. Amina was touched by Adebayo's story and his honesty, but she wasn't ready to forgive him just yet. She had been hurt by his actions and needed time to think. I appreciate you telling me this, Adebayo, she said, but I need some time to think about everything. Right now, I need to focus on taking care of my mother. Adebayo understood. He asked about Amina's mother's condition and offered to help move her to a better hospital where she could get the best care. Amina was hesitant at first, but she knew this would give her mother a better chance of getting well. She agreed to Adebayo's offer. In the better hospital, Amina's mother improved quickly. She was curious about Adebayo and asked Amina who he was. Amina simply said he was her boss, but her mother could sense there was more to the story. She saw the way Adebayo looked at Amina when he thought no one was watching. As the days passed, Adebayo continued to visit the hospital. He brought food for Amina and magazines for her mother. He said he asked about her mother's health and seemed genuinely concerned. Amina began to see a different side of Adebayo, one that was caring and thoughtful. One day, Adebayo did something that truly impressed Amina. He came to the hospital and asked to speak with Amina's mother privately. Amina was worried at first, but when Adebayo came out of the room, he looked nervous but determined. He told Amina that he had asked her mother for permission to date her properly. Amina was touched by this traditional and respectful gesture. He showed her that Adebayo was serious about changing and wanted to do things the right way. She agreed to go on a real date with him once her mother was feeling better. As Amina's mother recovered, Adebayo and Amina spent some time together. They went for walks in the park, had dinner at small local restaurants, and talked for hours. Amina saw that Adebayo was different when he wasn't trying to impress anyone. He was funny, kind, and interested in her thoughts and opinions. Adebayo found himself amazed by Amina's strength, intelligence, and compassion. He realized that the feelings they had developed while they were pretending to be a couple were real and growing stronger every day. Slowly but surely, Adebayo and Amina fell in love for real. They told both of their families about a relationship. Amina's family was cautious at first, knowing Adebayo's reputation, but they saw how happy Amina was. Adebayo's family was overjoyed. They had always liked Amina and were glad to see Adebayo finally settling down with someone they approved of. A few months later, Adebayo's family invited them to visit again, but this time as a real couple. During dinner, at the Oluwaseyi's house, Mr. Oluwaseyi had a surprise for Amina. He offered her a job as an accountant at the family company. After he helped us uncover Chidi's theft, I thought you were the right and smart person and trustworthy, he said. We need someone like you to help run our finances properly. Amina was overwhelmed by the offer. She looked at Adebayo, wondering what he thought about this. When their eyes met, they both realized something important. Together, they would make a great team. They could run the company and make it even more successful than before. Adebayo spoke up. Father, I've been thinking a lot about the family business. I know I wasn't ready to take it over before, but I am now. With Amina by my side, I know we can do great things for the company. Mr. and Mrs. Oluwaseyi were thrilled. They could see that Adebayo had truly changed. He was no longer the irresponsible playboy, but a man ready to take on the family legacy. In the end, Adebayo didn't become the playboy lawyer who couldn't be trusted. Instead, he became a responsible man who found love and a partner he could trust. Amina wasn't just a cleaner pretending to be a girlfriend anymore. She became a respected accountant and a real partner to Adebayo. Together, Adebayo and Amina were ready to face whatever challenges came their way. They had each other and they had the support of both their families. The future looked bright for them and for their family business. As for Chidi, he was fired from the company, had to pay back all the money he had stolen. Adebayo's sister was very upset with him at first, but in time, she forgave him. Chidi learned his lesson and never tried to steal again. Adebayo's parents were very proud of their son. He had grown up and become the responsible man they always knew he could be. They were happy to leave their family business in Adebayo and Abina's capable hands. And so, what started as a plan to trick Adebayo's family turned into something real and wonderful. Adebayo and Amina's story that sometimes the people we least expect can change our lives in amazing ways. It also shows that being honest and working hard can lead to great things. Adebayo learned that true love was better than being a playboy. Amina learned that sometimes taking a chance can lead to happiness. Together, they learned that two people who trust and support each other can overcome any obstacle. As Adebayo and Amina started their new life together, running the family business and planning their future, they often thought back to how it all began. A rich lawyer and a clever cleaner, brought together by a plan that turned into true love. They knew that no matter what happened, they would face it together, just as they had from the beginning. Their story became a favorite in both families, told at gatherings and celebrations. It was a reminder that love can be found in unexpected places and that people can change for the better when they find the right person to support them. Adebayo and Amina's journey from a fake relationship to true love inspired many others to believe in the power of second chances and the importance of looking beyond appearances to see real people inside. The end. If you have enjoyed the story, please share it with your friends and family. Also, do not forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel because I would love to see you again. Bye!